students, how are you all of you doing? Nanne mule se pyare bachcho, how are you doing? Welcome to the session again. In the previous session, we were discussing the physiology of digestion, how the deglutition occurs, what about the digestion in the buccal cavity, then how the deglutition swallowing occurs to the pharynx, to the esophagus, the food is passed, then to the stomach. What happens to the food in the stomach, we were discussing in the previous session. Now the physiology of digestion part 2. Let's discuss how the digestion is completed in the small intestine. Okay students, so esophagus, here stomach. Okay, how the digestion is proceeded up to here we were discussing in the previous session. Now what about the duodenum? Here duodenum. This is the duodenum. How the digestion is completed in the duodenum. So the small intestine contains 3 parts. Duodenum. This is a duodenum, a U-shaped structure followed by jejunum and followed by ileum. How the digestion is completed in the duodenum, let's discuss now. And followed by jejunum and ileum, how the digestion happens. So the partially digested food passes here. This is a pyloric stomach. Pyloric stomach. How the partially digested food is now proceeded in this direction here. So when the food passes from the pyloric stomach into the duodenum, here it is operated by a sphincter. Small sphincter is present here. Between the pyloric stomach and the duodenum, a small sphincter is present called as pyloric sphincter. Pyloric sphincter, a muscle which operates here. That is, when the food, partially digested food, is proceeded to the duodenum, it is not getting back into the stomach again. Why? Because of the presence of the pyloric sphincter. So, and where is the food now? The food is now present in the duodenum. But remember, it's a partially digested food. It's not a completely digested food called as chyme. The partially digested food present in the duodenum is called as chyme. But in the gastric juice, I told you that HCl, hydrochloric acid, is present. Isn't it? Because the enzymes of gastric juice, gastric here in the stomach, the enzymes are activated only in the acidic medium of 0.9 to 1.8 pH, the highly acidic only in the stomach. But when compared to this one, the enzymes of duodenum are activated only under the alkaline medium. Alkaline medium. That is, the pH should be more than 7. Only then alkaline medium should be there. So what is the need of the heart? The acidic influence must be stopped here totally. The acidic influence means the HCl influence must be totally stopped in the duodenum. Isn't it? That's why a very important enzyme called as, very important hormone called as enterogastrone. Enterogastrone, also called as gastric inhibitory peptide, a hormone. It's a hormone, is released instantly by the epithelial cells of the duodenum. When the partially digested food is present here in the duodenum, then instantly the duodenal epithelial cells releases the hormone called as enterogastrone or gastric inhibitory peptide, which stops the influence of the HCl here, acidic contents here, because they should be stopped. Because enzymes of duodenum are activated only under the alkaline medium. So the influence of gastric juice and HCl must be stopped here. That's why instantly the enterogastrone gastric inhibitory peptide hormone is released here, which stops the influence of the gastric juice and the HCl here. The acidic influence is totally stopped here. Acidic influence is totally stopped. That's the first point here to be remembered. Enterogastrone. And here I told you that alkaline medium must be maintained here. For the maintenance of alkaline medium, what is necessary here? For the maintenance of this alkaline medium, what is necessary? Mucus. Mucus must be released here. The mucus is released by different sources. For example, here number 1 is Brunner's glands. Brunner's glands of the submucosa of duodenum and the intestinal epithelium or epithelial cells here, mucosal epithelial cells. Both of them, these mucosal epithelial cells contains the goblet cells. Goblet cells. Because I told you that intestinal wall, innermost one is a mucosa, isn't it? The mucosa here is a intestinal epithelium, here lamina propria, and here the muscularis layer is there. Muscularis mucosa, lamina propria, here intestinal epithelium here, called as here mucosal epithelium here. So the mucosal epithelial cells which contains the goblet cells, these are the goblet cells. So the goblet cells of the intestinal epithelium and the Brunner's glands, both of them releases the mucus. Number 1, A. And next one is when the partially digested food present called as chyme is present in the duodenum, it also releases the very important thing called as here bicarbonate ions. Bicarbonate ions means HCO3 minus ions are released here. Why? Because acidic means here which one? H plus. H plus means here acidity. If the H plus ions are increasing, it leads to the acidity. But here the enzymes are activated only under the alkaline medium. So what is the need of the heart? The bicarbonate ions here, that is HCO3 minus ions, must be released to buffer the influence of H plus, isn't it? Buffer. That's why bicarbonate ions are released by two sources here. One is the pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice is released to the duodenum, which contains the bicarbonate ions, and also the epithelial, some of the cells are present in the anterior part of the duodenum. Some of the cells are present in the anterior part of the duodenum, which releases the bicarbonate ions. So they are called as bicarbonate releasing cells present in the anterior part of the duodenum. They releases the bicarbonate ions. So under the influence of mucus, number 1, okay, these are 1 mucus and the influence of bicarbonate ions, the acidity is totally neutralized, buffered, and here the alkaline medium is maintained because of the secretion of the mucus and the bicarbonate ions into the duodenum. As a result, the net pH value is maintained as 7.8 because enzymes of duodenum are activated only under the highly alkaline medium. So this is the second point to remember here. Okay, students. Now what happens to the digestion in the duodenum? How this is accomplished? Let's discuss now. So now let's discuss the digestion in small intestine, and now especially with reference to the duodenum, how the digestion is proceeded. The macromolecules, first of all, the digestion of proteins. Digestion of proteins in the duodenum. The protein digesting enzymes are called as proteolytic enzymes. Proteolytic enzymes. The proteolytic enzymes are nothing but peptidases. Peptidases. So the protein digesting enzymes are called as proteolytic enzymes. Lysis means dissolving, hydrolyzing here. Isn't it? They are nothing but peptidases because what is a protein? It's a macromolecule. And here, for example, this is a macromolecule called as protein. This is a polypeptide chain, for example. This is a polypeptide chain. Okay, and these ones are other bonds, inner bonds like this. They're attached to each other. Like this, like this, like this. So these are the peptide bonds. Peptide bonds. And these rounded ones, for example, are the amino acids. This entire structure is a polypeptide. Polypeptide. So many polypeptides like this. Here, 1, 2, 3. Here, many polypeptides like this. It forms a protein molecule. So protein molecule contains many polypeptides. Each polypeptide contains many amino acid molecules held together by the peptide bonds. That is, for the digestion of proteins, these peptide bonds must be broken. Only then the digestion of proteins can occur here. So what is the need of the heart? The enzymes called as here peptidases must break the peptide bonds. Only then the amino acids, the end products of protein digestion is accomplished here. So that is done by the peptidases enzymes. These peptidases enzymes are present in the pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice. And of course, intestinal juice. Intestinal juice, succus entericus. The bile juice does not have any enzymes. So the three juices called as pancreatic juice, intestinal juice, and bile juice are simultaneously poured into the duodenum. So duodenum is receiving the cocktail of three juices, pancreatic, intestinal, and bile juices. Only the pancreatic and intestinal juices consist of the enzymes, whereas the bile juice does not have any enzymes. Clear, students? So these peptidases, the peptidases are of two different types called as exopeptidases and endopeptidases. Endopeptidases. What is exo? Exo means outside, whereas endo means inside. So the peptide bond, the exopeptidases means which break the peptide bonds here. For example, this is a thing here, outside. This is a outside border. These are acted upon. These chains are acted upon by the exopeptidases here. Exo means outside. Whereas endo means inside, that is the peptide bonds are broken by inside, which are present inside the protein molecule, are broken down by the endopeptidases. The endo means inside. The endopeptidases, as the name indicates, they breaks the bonds which are present inside within the protein molecule, whereas exopeptidases, they break the peptide bonds which are present outside the here, periphery. This is called as periphery here. That is a function of the exopeptidases. Now the function examples of exopeptidases. One is aminopeptidases, and carboxypeptidases. These are the very good examples of exopeptidases. Next one is endopeptidases. Example, pepsin of gastric juice. Pepsin of gastric juice. Trypsin and chymotrypsin of pancreatic juice. This is of gastric juice. These are the examples of endopeptidases. Nevertheless, both the enzymes, both the categories of peptidases are necessary for the breakage of these bonds here. Cleavage of these bonds, peptide bonds. Only then the protein digestion is accomplished. This protein digestion is accomplished mainly in the duodenum. Clear? How this happens? What is the example? What is the actual mode of action? Let's discuss now. The digestion of proteins in the duodenum. Let's discuss now. Clear? So here, first of all, we are discussing the reference to the duodenum here, isn't it? The duodenum receives, this is the stomach, and here from here is the duodenum starts. So the duodenum here is the liver. From the liver, and here is the pancreas, and this consists of these intestinal glands. That is from the three sources. Here bile juice, here pancreatic juice, here intestinal juice. Three juices are received by the duodenum here. Now, how this happens here? For example, here the pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice, okay, is released from the pancreatic duct, and the bile juice is released from the bile duct, common bile duct. Both common bile duct and the pancreatic duct, both of them join to form the hepatopancreatic ampulla guarded by the sphincter of Oddi, which opens the duodenum. We have already discussed this point, isn't it? So this receives the duodenum receives the bile juice and pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice contains the enzymes in the inactive form. What are the inactive form of enzymes called as proenzymes or zymogens here? One is the trypsinogen. Trypsinogen. Next one is chymotrypsinogen. Chymotrypsinogen. And next one is procarboxypeptidases. Procarboxypeptidases. So these are the inactive enzymes. Inactive form of enzymes called as proenzymes. They must be activated. Only then the enzymatic action is sufficient and efficient. Otherwise, no action. Clear? So this trypsinogen of pancreas, all these are released by the pancreatic juice. And these are the protein digesting proteolytic enzymes we are discussing here, isn't it? Because the topic is digestion of proteins. Other enzymes are present here in the pancreatic juice, but we are referring here only the protein digesting enzymes here. That's why I'm referring here only the protein digesting enzymes, which are inactive forms here. So this trypsinogen must be activated to which one? Trypsin. That must be activated to the trypsin by the enzyme activator called as enterokinase. Enterokinase. Enterokinase is the enzyme activator present in the intestinal juice. Intestinal juice here. Intestinal juice, Succus entericus, contains the enzyme activator called as enterokinase, which converts the proenzyme in the inactive form called as trypsinogen into the trypsin here. Now the chymotrypsinogen, it can be converted into chymotrypsin. Chymotrypsin in the presence of trypsin here. And the procarboxypeptidases is converted into the carboxypeptidases. Carboxypeptidases in the presence of again trypsin. So once the enzyme activator enterokinase activates and forms a trypsin, will do automatically the inactive form chymotrypsinogen into chymotrypsin, inactive procarboxypeptidases into the carboxypeptidases. These are the enzymes present in the inactive form and they are activated. These are the activated enzymes here. Only these can activate here, and that too in the alkaline medium of 7.8 physiological pH, otherwise no. Clear, students? So even the fourth point here, trypsinogen can be converted into trypsin in the presence of trypsin. And this is an example of autocatalysis. Autocatalysis. What is auto? Self-catalysis. See here, it is forming into trypsin in the presence of trypsin. That's an example of autocatalysis. Just like the pepsinogen is converted into pepsin in the presence of pepsin. That's also an example of autocatalysis. Clear, students? So here the enzymes, activated enzymes are formed. Right side. These are the inactive into the activated states. Now they will act on the proteins. How this is acted on the proteins? Let's discuss now. So proteins, proteoses, or peptones. These are incompletely digested protein food is passing from stomach into the duodenum. Isn't it? That must be completely digested. And that's the headache of which one? The protein digesting enzymes present in the duodenum here. So the partially digested protein food, proteins, proteoses and peptones, these are the polypeptides. These must be further broken down into the lower peptides and then ultimately into the amino acids. Isn't it? So proteins, proteoses and peptones are acted upon by the trypsin, chymotrypsin, or with this 1, 2 or carboxypeptidases or aminopeptidases. Any form here. Either trypsin or chymotrypsin or carboxypeptidase or aminopeptidase. In this one, the first three are present in the pancreatic juice, just now I told you. Whereas the aminopeptidase is present in the intestinal juice. So these proteins, proteoses, peptones, the partially digested incompletely food present in the duodenum is acted upon by either of the 4 enzymes. And they are broken down into the which one? Don't say amino acids. No, they are not directly converted to the amino acids. All of you, note on this point. Now these are converted into the tripeptides. This is the polypeptide again here. Okay. These are the polypeptides into the lower polypeptides here called as the tripeptides. These are further broken down here. Tripeptides are further broken down into which one? Dipeptides. Okay, dipeptides and with the release of amino acids. So dipeptides, and this occurs in the form of in the presence of tripeptidases. And the dipeptides, these must be further broken down, isn't it? Until they are formed into the amino acids now. So the dipeptides are broken down into the amino acids now in the presence of dipeptidases. In this one, the tripeptidases and dipeptidases are present in the intestinal juice, succus and deicus. We have already discussed that aminopeptidases, tripeptidases and dipeptidases are present in the intestinal juice, succus and deicus. So the dipeptides are converted to amino acids, the ultimate products of protein digestion. These cannot be further broken down, don't say here, isn't it? These are the end products of protein digestion. Okay, the dipeptides are broken down into the amino acids in the presence of dipeptidases. And these are accomplishment of the protein digestion. You're following, students, all of you. That is the end product of protein digestion here. Next one is the digestion of carbohydrates. How the digestion of carbohydrates is accomplished in the duodenum. Let's discuss now. Clear? So digestion of carbohydrates in duodenum here, with reference to the duodenum here. Okay. Already I told you in the previous session that in the buccal cavity there is a release of the salivary amylase called as ptyalin, which is responsible for conversion of starches into the disaccharide here called as maltose. Starch is a polysaccharide, whereas maltose is a disaccharide. And this occurs in the presence of the salivary amylase called as ptyalin. So 30% of starches are digested with this accomplishment here. So how much is remaining? Almost roughly 70% of starches, a polysaccharide, need to be digested here, and that's occurring in the duodenum here by the help of an enzyme called as pancreatic amylase. So here this is occurring in the buccal cavity. That's number 1. Number 2, we are discussing here duodenum here, isn't it? So the pancreas contains a pancreatic amylase. So pancreas contains a pancreatic amylase. Okay, pancreatic amylase here, called as amylopsin. The pancreatic amylase is called as a amylopsin here. This is responsible for almost 70% of starch digestion here. So the starches are broken down in the presence of pancreatic amylase into the disaccharides. What are the three disaccharides? One is a maltose, number one. Number two, sucrose, and number three, lactose. Maltose, sucrose and lactose are the disaccharides, whereas starch is a polysaccharide. Starch, a polysaccharide, is broken down in the presence of pancreatic amylase called as amylopsin into the three types of disaccharides called as maltose, sucrose and lactose here. Now these must be broken down further into the monosaccharides because it is a disaccharide. So the glycolytic bonds, in the case of proteins, the peptide bonds, whereas in the case of the here starches here called as carbohydrates called as glycolytic bonds, glycosidic or glycolytic bonds, they must be broken down. Here only the disaccharides or three types of disaccharides are formed. So these disaccharides must be broken down into the monosaccharides here. The monosaccharides are the end products of carbohydrate digestion. How this occurs, let's discuss now. So the disaccharides here called as maltose, number one. Number two is sucrose. And number three is lactose. These are the disaccharides. Maltose is broken down in the presence of maltase into the two molecules of glucose plus glucose. Next one is sucrose, is converted into the glucose and fructose in the presence of sucrase, also called as invertase. Okay, next one is lactose, is broken down into one molecule of glucose and one molecule of galactose. So these are the disaccharides. And these are the monosaccharides. And these are this lactose into glucose and galactose in the presence of which one? Lactase enzyme. So these are the disaccharadases. Enzymes called as disaccharidases. Disaccharidases are nothing but brush border enzymes. Present near the microvilli. In the previous sessions we have discussed, isn't it? So brush border enzymes. Disaccharadases breaks the disaccharides into the monosaccharides. The monosaccharides are the end products of carbohydrate digestion here. Finish here. There is a digestion of carbohydrates in the duodenum. So there is an accomplishment of the carbohydrate digestion also in the duodenum also. Next one is let's discuss the digestion of lipids or fats in the duodenum. So these disaccharides are present in the disaccharadases. Enzymes are present in the intestinal juice. Disaccharadases called as maltase, sucrase and lactase are the disaccharadases. They are present in the intestinal juice. Now let's discuss the digestion of lipids or fats in the duodenum. See here, lipid molecule is very larger. It cannot be directly broken down by the enzymatic action. Hence, it must be first of all cut down into the smaller pieces. For example, this is a larger fat molecule. It is water insoluble. It is not soluble in water. Is hydrolysis happening here, isn't it? That's why the enzymes cannot be directly break down this larger fat molecule here, isn't it? So what is the need of here? Here this must be broken down into the simpler fat molecules here, called as here micelles. Smaller lipid droplets here called as micelles here. Large fat molecule must be broken down into the simpler fat molecules here. This is called as emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats. So what is emulsification of fats? It is nothing but the conversion of the larger fat molecules into the smaller lipid or fat molecules called as the emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats is done by the bile salts secreted in the bile juice. The bile juice contains the bile salts. What are the bile salts? Sodium and potassium, glycocolate, and tarocolate. These are called as bile salts which are necessary for the emulsification of the fats. Once these are there, these are acted upon by the lipases enzymes. What are lipases enzymes? They are the lipid dissolving, lipid digesting enzymes are called as the lipases. They are the lipolytic enzymes. Lipolytic enzymes, they break the bonds between the fat molecules here, lipases. But only the smaller fat molecules in the tiny pieces here. The end products of fat digestion are the fatty acids and the glycerol. How this is accomplished? Already told you that the larger fat molecules are broken down into the smaller fat molecules here, and these are called as the emulsified fats. Emulsified fats. So now what are formed? The emulsified fats are formed. So fats are broken down in the presence of bile salts. These are the bile salts into the emulsified fats. Emulsified fats. The emulsified fats are broken down into the triglycerides and fatty acids. In the presence of lipases. See here, now the lipases acted upon. Here the lipases cannot function because the fats are the very bigger molecules. Once they are formed into the emulsified fats, the lipases acted upon and they convert into the smaller molecules called as the triglycerides here. Now the triglycerides are broken down into diglycerides and fatty acids here. In the presence of lipases again, and the diglycerides into the monoglycerides and fatty acids. In the presence of lipases again, and now the monoglycerides into the fatty acids and glycerol. In the presence of lipases again. These lipases, here we are discussing which one? Duodenum. There are two types of lipases are present. Three juices are there. One is the bile juice, pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. The bile juice does not have any enzymes. Same along these lipases. So this bile juice here we are not discussing here, but they contain the emulsification here. Here we are discussing lipases. The lipases are present in the pancreatic juice as well as the intestinal juice. The lipases of the pancreatic juice are called as the pancreatic lipase or steatocin. And a weak intestinal lipase is also present, but the pancreatic lipase is very strong. Steatocin called as steatocin. So these lipases means here pancreatic lipase as well as the intestinal lipase, as the case may be, they act upon and further convert into the ultimate products of or the end products of the fat digestion are called as the fatty acids here. What are these? Fatty acids and glycerol. These are the end products of fat digestion. Clear, students of you? That is about the digestion of lipids or fats in the duodenum. Now, last part and the fourth part is the digestion of nucleic acids in the duodenum. How the digestion of nucleic acids occurs in the duodenum? Let's discuss now. Digestion of nucleic acids in the duodenum. The nucleic acids are of two different types, DNA and RNA. Deoxyribose nucleic acids and ribose nucleic acids. And these are acted upon by the nucleases. The nucleases are of two different types, DNase and RNase, as the case may be. Nucleases, and they convert into the simpler molecules here called as the nucleotides. Nucleotides. Once the nucleotides are formed, they are acted upon by the nucleases, nucleotidases, and convert into the nucleosides, And nucleosides, once they are formed, they are acted upon by the nucleosidases. Here tidases, here sidases. Into the sugars and bases. Sugars and bases are the end products of nucleic acid digestion here. So the nucleic acid digestion also completed in the duodenum. Now these nucleic acids here, DNA, RNA, are acted upon by the nucleases. There are two types of nucleases are present here. One is called as the DNA, other is called as the RNA. DNases and RNases are the two different types of nucleases. DNase acts on DNA and RNase acts on RNA, as the case may be, and convert in which one? Nucleotides. The simpler molecules than nucleic acids. The right ones are the simpler molecules than the left ones. So the nucleotides, once they are formed, they are acted upon by the enzymes called as nucleotidases here. Nucleotidases, and they form into the nucleosides. And once the nucleosides are formed, they are acted upon by the nucleosidases. This is tidases, this is sidases here. There is a difference, isn't it? And they form into the sugars and bases. The sugars and bases are the end products of nucleic acid digestion here. Now this nucleases is present in the pancreatic juice, whereas these ones, nucleotidases and sidases, are present in the intestinal juice. Here. So this is the end products of which one? The nucleic acid digestion here. All these occurs in which one? Duodenum. Now I told you that the duodenum here followed by jejunum and ileum here. In the small intestine, duodenum followed by jejunum and ileum here, isn't it? So the digestion is almost completed in the duodenum here, and in the jejunum and ileum are mainly for absorption of the food. Here. And this ileum is followed by which one? Cecum, colon and rectum, that is a part of the large intestine here. The large intestine consists of cecum, colon and rectum. No digestive activity or insignificant digestive activity occurs in the large intestine, because the large intestine is present only for the absorption and reabsorption of the food here. And also defecation, rectum, all these the rectum to the rectum defecation, all these things will be discussed in the later sessions here. And that's all about the today's session. My dear Bachcha, all of you enjoyed my session here. Bye students, all of you.